Hey there, welcome to CandTCollectibles. I am C. Hope you're doing very, very well. This is your weekly sports card chart blast, where we take a look at the price action of our favorite collectibles. Price is truth. If you like this content, please leave a like, subscribe, do all that good stuff here, and we'll get started with a top-down look with some of the individual sports, and then we'll look at a few cards, some of the major players in each, and see what we see here. So the baseball index. This is all this information is from Card Ladder. The baseball index is ticking up just a little bit. One of your better performing of the major sports anyways, up about 2.5% over the last month here, putting in some new highs. So if you're able to pick out the right cards overall, then you're continuing to make money in the baseball card market. Some of the biggest movers in the baseball card market over that period of time. You've got some of the Bonds, Fleer, 87 Fleer rookie cards, a PSA 4. Eddie Murray up a big number here. So a lot of low price cards are moving, and I've said this before, and I'm not the only one. A lot of people have said this before, but right now, what you're kind of seeing in the market is the lower price stuff is moving. It's really not hard to get 100% buying a $5 card and juicing it to a $10 card. So the higher end stuff, getting hit on the chin just a little bit, but there are opportunities out there, and if you're willing to look hard enough and buy the cheap raw stuff, then there are opportunities if you can find the correct buyer. The football index, that one is down just 37 basis points over the last month or so. So not a huge move or anything like that. So largely flat over a period of time. You've got basically. The run-up at the beginning of the year was that first pump, and then you had a lull to midsummer, then you had the preseason, and there was another pop again, and then now things are flattening off while the season is going on, and you can see some of the bigger movers here. Drew Lock getting some love here, Taylor Heineke, Ronald Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Kyler Murray. So those are some of your bigger movers. And you'll have to look at outside the base for the most part, something that's perhaps a little bit more limited. But again, you can see that the values on these are pretty low, and so that's where the bigger returns are. It's going to be difficult for a $1,000 card to go to $100,000, get you a 1,000% return. But something that's $2 or $3 up to 15, man, that's not a problem. So there are plenty of channels out there that do a great job analyzing players that maybe under the radar just a little bit here. So buy the raw version of them and see what you can get out of there. The basketball index, one of your worst performing indices overall, down 1.5% over the last month, and so you had your peak. This was earlier this year, so when everything ran up until about February, and then you had another run at the highs there, but momentum was kind of diverging, and then call it what you want to call it, a downdraft, and then you're flattening out just a little bit here. Again, there's some players that are doing well, but there are a lot of players that aren't, and so we'll see a few things leveling off perhaps here. So we'll see if that's the case here. Zion, again, low dollar cards are really ripping here. This KG that was up 700 something percent. You basically get it for $2. I think I got it for $2 at some point last year. So it's interesting to get an overview of the market as a whole here. But again, are these the cards that people are really going for? If you're trying to make a buck here, then yeah, this is what you need to be looking at here. The hockey index, up 77 basis points over the last month here. So I had the run up with everything else, and like a lot of other things, baseball is really the only one that held those highs and are putting in new highs. And so all these other indices are pulling back to a certain level here and just starting to take up just a little bit. So this one has actually held in a little bit better than a lot of the others. I don't think. I think I just did basketball again on that one here. So I don't know what hockey cards are doing well, but you know what? Through the magic of editing here, maybe we can just pull it up real quick. So. All right, so the hockey market's telling kind of the same story as well. A lot of low dollar cards are popping. You're getting huge percentage returns out of them. So we'll move that. All right, that was about as smooth as a Colt 45. So the wrestling index, again, with a major run-up and then a monster collapse here. It's a very thin index here, but again, starting to firm up just a little bit, like some of those others that had a big drop overall. And you can see some of the names in there. Low dollar cards, but there are some bigger names here that are getting some love here. So Hulk Hogan, obviously, but some of the other names, John Cena. So the big names, obviously, they're going to get the attraction. There's only so much money to go around, and so it's going to go into the most popular areas of the respective sports overall. Soccer, another one that actually held in all right, so made up its highs, and now it's just kind of consolidating around in this range here. So these consolidations usually lead to a break higher eventually, but this is where you just outline your risk, because you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Up is good, down is bad, right? So that's how that goes. And then again, a lot of your usual suspects, big names, low dollar amount. So that's kind of what you're looking at, I suppose. The high end index. All right. So there's a lot of money in the hobby, and it's going into things that are going to, when you have a ton of money, you want to protect it. And so you're going to go into things that are a little bit more scarce, relatively, on a relative basis, not as easy to come by. Cost more money, and in theory, you're gonna hang on to your investment a little bit more. So you can see high grade Willie Mays and Bill Russell, Brady, Curry, Kevin Durant, all that kind of stuff. So and of the refractor high grade variety here. So the market is healthy, but it's changing, and so the big money isn't going to go scoop up a lot of the base cards or anything like that unless they're older and high grade. They're going for the more scarce stuff. That's always been the way. You go for look at any market, any collectibles market, it's the high end does really, really well. If you take the collectibles market as a whole, right now you've got fine art, fine wine, things like that making new highs, and cards, the high end cards are holding in well. So Billy Mays, look at a few of those high end cards here, an absolute rip on the PSA 6. People are just, I don't know, it doesn't come up that often, I assume, number one, but number two, again, they just want to get it into something. There's a lot of money out there. Just get into something that was of value. So this purchase may not be a great purchase overall. You have a lot of buying in here. You don't have a lot of buying up here. And the next sale wouldn't surprise me. Now, again, a lot of money chasing a few goods. It could certainly go higher. What I like to say is it doesn't have to go higher with you. So if you're patient, perhaps you could see something back down in this area if this is a card you are looking for. The Bill Russell 57 tops. Again, same thing. New highs. Absolutely ripping on just a couple of sales here. So again, doesn't have to go higher with you. So we'll see how that works out in the overall scheme of things. So again, it could still go higher or whatever, but may just be worth watching at this point. And they're all kind of doing the same here. Tom Brady, this is the Upper Deck Black Diamond. Sounds fancy. So you had your basing and then a monster breakout. So if it came back into this base here, wouldn't surprise me. And Steph Curry ripping to new highs. You had your uptrend broken with a consolidation and then a breakout and just an absolute monster rip. So 399 of these autographs out there, and he's face-ish of the NBA. So the way other people are going, he's kind of the guy right now, and he can make shots from the stands, in the entryway, which is really cool. Sweet fit. So anyways, new highs for that one as well. But there's a lot of buying on this one, so for it to absolutely collapse down like the other ones, maybe not. So anyways, let's just move into some of the usual suspects here. Mike Trout continues to consolidate, move sideways. You've got a range of around 27, a couple bucks shy of that, to $3,000 until further notice. A breakout would be very positive for the market, and a breakdown no good. But sideways action until we get into spring training may be a good thing here. Bryce Harper, top of the range, and now it's getting a little bit choppy here, so you're near the top of the range on this one here. If you're able to get it closer to this area, that is a good spot, but you have to be quick because the purchases down here are one. It's gone one off, but it does happen, and there's a lot more buying in this area, so kind of a fair deal. So we looked at it last week, and I think we had it here, and it's like, all right, if you can get it down here, and one person was able to. So that's, your chances of being up at 2 a.m. catching that auction or that buy it now are probably slim, and this is this $180 is kind of your price for the future Hall of Famer Juan Soto. This is the BGS 10. So harder to come by than the PSA 10, and you're going to pay a premium for it. So bouncing off the lower end of its range, and there's a little bit of resistance coming up here, but this card is showing a little bit of life again. The refractors and the high grade and crazy high grade in this case are the ones getting some love here. So Fernando Tatis, your base, and a BGS 9.5 into your support zone here, and getting some love. So the trend is still down, but if you're able to get it in this price, for now that seems like the number. Refractor PSA 9. Doing really, really poorly. So the BGS 9.5 that I just showed you was up quite a bit over the past quarter, 70 or 80% or something like that, while the refractor at a PSA 9 is down about 60 or 7. This is one of the worst performers, but it is sitting at the bottom of the range. And so when you're looking at things to buy or whatever, look at the things that have done the worst. And this is for Tatis cards. This is one of them here, and it is sitting in an area where your risk reward may be favorable. Mookie Betts in a PSA 10 continues to press lower here, so the $250 area, people are finding that a good deal, but they found it a good deal here. They found it a good deal here. A lot of people thought this was a good deal. So, but kind of filling this gap area here is where we're at, and that's technically when you fill these gaps, it's kind of your target overall. So the trend remains down, but that seems like a fair enough price. Mookie Betts always kind of traded around 8 to 10. 8 to 10 Mookie Betts would get you a Mike Trout, and so 10 Mookie Betts right now wouldn't even get you a Mike Trout. So it does seem a little bit sheepish. So no number Vlad hanging on to that $200 area and getting a little bit of a pop. So you do have these one-offs here, but if you look at the clusters and not the spikes, it's kind of sitting in that area, 220. So maybe a little bit of downside in the near term or something like that, but it could show some upside, especially if it's able to hang on to this price until the spring training starts to gear up. This is the Sapphire, showing a bit of life as well here, so bottom of the range and maybe breaking out. So if we can get another sale, this doesn't come up too often, but if we get another sale in this area, that's a pretty clean breakout, and you can see these prices start to rise again as people are starting to gravitate toward the more limited stuff here. Ricky Henderson, PSA 8, set a target on this one for 210. It hasn't quite gotten there yet, so I'll just be patient and see what happens. Just compressing like everything else. You had your broken up trend. Really, the outside the range and the low volume was your, that's enough. But once it comes back in the range, you're looking for the bottom of the range and then breaking. That's kind of your line in the sand here. So you're compressing for the time being on that one, and a lot of cards are doing the same thing. Derek Jeter has hit my target, however, and now you're in this. This is the PSA 8, the foil. So the monster spike, it's like no. A lot of people said yes though. So it's grinding lower, and I like this area right in here, and so I will be looking very strongly for this card. I think that's the PSA 8. I might, the BGS 9 is actually, you can get that for maybe 400 or something like that, I think. So by the way, I'll look at that one here. And Cal Ripken traded in the PSA 8, also a consolidation. So off of the highs, 400 something bucks, and it's been cut in half. So nothing has really been terribly safe or anything like that, but it is consolidating with a lot of interest here. So if you're patient, we'll see which way that one wants to go. Football, Tom Brady, the base in the PSA 10, the Bowman Chrome. A little bit of problem here. So this is a longer term trend line, and it's held for quite a while, but now you're starting to break below that. And if you've been watching these videos, you've seen me point to Luka and Giannis and all those names right there, and this is kind of the same thing. This could be a big problem for the football card market overall if this isn't a one-off, if we can't get back up here. So right now we're sitting at 18, and it was up as high as 24. So if the next sale can't come in at like that 20,000 level or whatever, then these prices could start to grind lower. Now there's a lot of people in here, so it doesn't have to collapse or anything like that, but it could be a grind lower for sure. AA Ron in the PSA 10, his Chrome sitting around the top of his range here. So it did hold on to its support level, and now it's sitting near the top of the range on just a couple of sales here. So maybe worth just kind of waiting, as your risk reward is not favorable unless it can break out and hold. Patrick Mahomes. All right, so do we sell Brady and buy Mahomes? Maybe so. So you had your consolidation and a breakdown, and it's like, all right, just see where this goes. And this is a pretty decent line in the sand. Now below this, you want out. There's a lot of buying in here, but that's still 30% lower from where we're at. But this seems like a reasonable support zone finally for Mahomes. So maybe he starts to perk up a little bit. Take those Brady profits. I don't know. So, but risk reward sets up favorably, tentatively, hesitantly favorably for the time being here. Dak Prescott with his consolidation and breakdown. So these wedges, they'll resolve themselves one way or another. You're just going to run out of room. And so he's breaking down here, and you could see some, as this travels lower, here's your buying cluster in that, what is that, $500 or whatever, and it's currently sitting at $700. So it's breaking all this support. So it could be a grind into that area. We'll see how that plays out. But breaking out of your consolidation to the downside, not a good thing. If we take a closer look here at the Dak Prescott, again, you see kind of the traveling lower bit here from the highs, and you can outline your risk a little bit better. So I like to look at the long term and see, okay, what's the general trend. And you can set up your timing in the shorter term and get a little better view of this. But your longer term consolidation. Now, if that is a fake below, then you could see a rip to the top of the range there. But again, the trend is down for and has been for now here. Russell Wilson, the cheap get cheaper here. So he had your highs, and it just continues to compress lower and lower and lower, and finally just broke out. And so this is kind of your last chance, I think, for Russ. Either this is your last chance to buy super cheap, or your last chance to sell, because there's not a lot of market memory in here. And if something special doesn't happen with them on the field in the offseason, it'll kind of be forgotten about, and you could see these things go lower. But right now, your risk reward sets up pretty well. This is your support zone, but be sure to have a potential tight or quick hook on that card if it doesn't work out. Jerry Rice, PSA 8, I think. And again, you kind of have your downtrend. So most of these cards are going to follow the same path for the most part. So we'll see how Mr. Rice does. If he can't hang on to the support zone here, then he could quickly leak into this this area of buying. So not a lot in here, a bunch of one-offs, and so your risk reward does set up favorably as long as you manage it properly. But this area could get filled real quick, and then you could wind up down here in the sub $100. Right around $100 area or something like that. You guys like round numbers, so $100 we'll call it. So my dog says hi. All right, Dan Marino consolidating and sitting around the top of the range here, PSA 8. So we'll see how this turns out here, but risk reward doesn't set up favorably for the time being. And Adrian Peterson in the Topps Chrome base, PSA 10. There's a lot of there's some interest up here, but it is breaking down just a little bit. And this was kind of a one-off. And so if this is not a one-off, you can't get more buying up in here. Then there's nothing here, and you might find yourself with a very cheap opportunity to get, or a very good opportunity to get Adrian Peterson cheaply with some of those nice refractors and stuff. So, all right, Justin Jefferson on fire. You know, my ears perk up when someone says, "Oh, you're beating all of Randy Moss's rookie records," and so he is doing that here. So, breaking the downtrend. We've seen this in the past. And so he's got to really hold it and get some more sales in this area. We only have the thing for the raw, the information for the raw here. So not a lot of info on Jefferson. Perhaps someone can do a deeper dive on a lot of the other stuff and look at all those other cards. I only have this one on the card ladder right now, so it's a pretty cheap deal. And again, it doesn't take much to push this from like $12 to $20 or anything like that. But we'll see if if the interest is coming in the raws, then people are gonna go for and these prices get pushed up. Then that's gonna then people say why am I gonna pay $20 for a raw? I can pay $30 for a graded, and they'll push the prices up there. So I don't know which came first, chicken or the egg, the graded or the raw, but which one leads what, but though they will start to move in tandem at some point. Michael Jordan, PSA 8, still in his testing his support that he has been for most of the year here. So sitting at $8,000, so $8,000 upwards to like $10,000, $11,000 or something is kind of your line in the sand. Below this, honestly, probably a lot of buying in here as well. So Michael Jordan, there's always going to be people willing to pay for Michael Jordan. So as far as a complete collapse, probably not, but it could grind lower if it can't hang on to this area. It could get down to like $6,000 or something like that, which is not insignificant. So again, we'll have to watch that, and we are watching that, and we'll see how it goes. LeBron James with his consolidation breaking out and breaking down. Now you're in this critical support zone here, so we'll see if this is if you're able to get some buyers in here. It looks like there's some activity in this area here, so but below this, again, not a lot of interest, and this would spell bad things for the entire card market if LeBron starts to really slide his way down. Because I mean, what more is he going to do for his legacy at this point, right? So, all right, Kevin Durant, top of the range, coming off a little bit, important support zone here. I think there's some more downside work to be done in his black base, space black refractor, whatever, what black border one or whatever. Again, you can see some of the refractors and some of the limited cards doing fine, but a lot of the base cards or whatever, they look like they're having some trouble here. Steph Curry, PSA 10, that's a big one. Consolidation and a breakout, which is a good thing here. So a lot of buying here and a breakout. So perhaps you're going to get some chasing here. These people may be willing to sell to people. And you've got some, you'll have some supply coming in here, so let's just hope that the demand overwhelms it. And if we can get a few more sales out here, then that is a clean breakout, and could see those prices go a lot higher again as he's getting a lot of love lately. Giannis, we had your consolidation, and this was another one where it's like, oh, careful, and he hasn't collapsed or anything like that. You had your previous low in the this was your MVP finals, and so in the season matching this prior low, and so this is kind of your key support zone here, and it's really testing that as well. So perhaps a little bit of downside to Giannis if that's a card you are looking for overall, but be aware that the trend is down, and below that, if those other cards start to break down, there's a lot of buying here, but it could certainly grind lower. So just outline your risk, and that's what we're trying to do here. Luka, again, kind of in your key support zone here. This is where you had your little leak, and it's like, oh, yeah, this is going to be a problem, and it continues to stair step to the downside. Huge population. Do we have a lot of people to absorb all of this supply? Anybody who's bought here is underwater. So if they all decide they want out, then that's the end, But probably a lot of people holding at this point, and a few sellers. But if you can get more demand, then that's a good thing here. But this is your key support zone. Sitting at about $500 or whatever right now, and again, if it went down to like this $400, sure wouldn't surprise me. But this is your risk reward setup for the time being. Anthony Edwards, Goose, trending lower here, but getting a little bounce off of potential support. There's not a lot of volume on this one here, so I don't know. I know the trend is down and he's really good, so it seems cheap enough. If you look at the silver prism, it's testing resistance again, and wouldn't surprise me to see a breakout. People are paying attention to him, and he could start to get a little bit of love on that one. So, and it is a higher end card. That's it's not the worst price in the world. So, who knows what kind of activity here. Trae Young, wrap up basketball, PSA 10 with your breakdown, and then your consolidation and the continuation of the prior trend, which is down. And so this is again your support zone sitting right at the bottom of that one here. So if hope for buying to step up and bring you back to the top of the range here. But if not, again, this is your previous low. You're matching it again, and below that, the market has a lot of symmetry here, so that could be in the cards again if it cannot hold this. So stay tuned to CNT Collectibles. We'll update that for you periodically. Wayne Gretzky hockey here, PSA 7 trigger. Hang on, man, come on, not that many of them here. We've got the consolidation here sitting at the bottom of the range, and so this is kind of your support zone. It tagged it, and it held, and so consolidating to see what to do. Probably a little bit more upside than downside on this particular card here. So we'll see eventually which way it wants to go if you are uber patient. Mario Lemieux in the PSA 8, the bottom of the range, getting a rip here. So we've got our consolidation, your previous consolidation and a breakout, and we're revisiting it at this point here. And so bounce off the bottom of the range, near the top of the range, but in this cluster here where buying has taken place before. Alexander Ovechkin, top of the range here. So been a monster, broke out of this consolidation, and now you're sitting at the top of the range. So in the near term, maybe a little bit of downside, but if you're able to come back and revisit this previous area of resistance, which is now going to be support, hopefully, ideally, then that's your spot for Mr. Ovechkin. Sidney Crosby compressing, little freight breakout, brings you to the bottom of the range. We've got a few sales in here, so we'll see what happens. It shouldn't take too long because you're just going to run out of room on these things here. So the way hockey's going, if it broke out, it wouldn't surprise me, but maybe he's got to do something in the back half of the season, playoffs or whatever. Connor McDavid, so it continues to grind sideways, and so when you're looking at Ovechkin and some other players, you had your consolidation and your breakout. These are usually just a pause before they resume the previous trend here, which was up. So you're at the bottom of its range right now, and again, it's kind of an ascending pattern here where it's just going to keep bumping its head up and compressing, and ultimately perhaps break out. So we'll have to watch that one. But below this, then you're going to the bottom of the range. But probabilities would say it's greater than a coin flip that you break out into the upside. All right, Tiger Woods. The index that did the best was the golf index, actually. So golf did well. The wrestling index was like number 2, for the last month. And the golf index is pretty much just Tiger Woods. So we'll just look at a Tiger Woods here. So here's your range. You're at the top of the range, coming. It's come off a few times here, so we'll see if it wants to come back down. But that's $180 sitting there, and we took a few stabs at that $100 area. So it's been a good rate in here. So it's been a good purchase. But top of the range, it's like at this point maybe you just wait and see if it can hang on. If it breaks out, then there you go. But maybe you get a little bit better price in the near term. And Pikachu actually getting a little bit of a lift here, so up decently over the last few. So the Pokemon index is down, but Pikachu's doing all right here. So downward compression. Here's your key support zone where we're finding a lot of things are at or close to, and it is poking its head out of that support zone here, and a break above this line would be terrific for you Pokemon investors. That's what I have for you. Thank you for your time and all that good stuff. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.